Weather Desk. As the eastern half of the nation experiences a January warm spell, the Cascades are buried under snow.
2 to 4 feet of winter white will blanket the mountains through Thursday.
Heavy snow can also increase the risk of avalanches.
You cannot, trust anything out there. You have to enjoy it, but you have to beware.
We'll turn the clock back 30 years and remember the impact of the blizzard of '96.
It just created a really big mess with deep snow drifts.
How discarded Christmas trees are helping Florida beaches.
It's a fantastic way to recycle the Christmas trees. They break down, provide nutrients.
And a lesson on how snowflakes get their shapes.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. It's going to feel more like fall or even spring and not the dead of winter east of the Rockies today. Temperatures will hit the 70s and 80s from Texas to Florida. The plains will be in the 60s. We will hit around 60 here in D.C. Northern cities normally in the 20s are actually in the 40s. In fact, only a few places will see highs today below freezing. But that does not mean, of course, snow and winter cold will not return. Meteorologist Kate Alexander takes a look at some of the longer range data.
Well, hello everyone. So we are well into the month of January, which is hard to believe, another new year. And the question many folks have is, when are we going to see that next chance of snow in the southeast? I know it looks a little bit bleak right now with some of the forecasts. I'm sure if you pull the forecast on your phone, you're seeing warm temperatures. But even now, we can start looking through some of the data to see if there's any big changes on the horizon. And I know we've covered some of the different factors that influence the winter outlook, and we've covered that before. But let's take a look at some of those to see if there's any subtle signs of a return to winter. One of the first places I like to look is the big old bubbles of air that's known as the Arctic and the North Atlantic oscillations. I know it's kind of a big word, but the answer is yes. We're seeing that temporary rephasing, and that's already taken place in both. And the only thing is, though, it can take a few days for some of those changes to reach the East Coast, but there's at least some signs, and I'm briefly brushing just on the surface of some of the different factors here. But one thing we can also look at is the long-term temperature models, operational runs, and something is indeed brewing by the middle to late portion of January. And I know with long-range forecasting, it does carry some uncertainty and, of course, shifts in the data. However, if you haven't seen the snow yet this season, hold on to hope. There's still plenty of time for some wintry white stuff before the end of the season.
And there has certainly been plenty of snow in the Pacific Northwest this winter, and more fell yesterday, especially in the Cascade Mountains east of Seattle. As meteorologist Stella Sun reports, the snowfall has been relentless.
After taking a break for the new year, Mother Nature is circling back with winter weather.
Yep, so it sounds like winter is catching up. That's normal for January and February.
In the Cascade Mountains, a winter storm making the roads messy.
The sign says chain up, so we pull over and put chains on. If you look up and down now, guys are fighting for spots to pull in to put chains on.
Semi-trucks and cars chaining up before spinning out.
We've seen 3 or 4, we call them four-wheelers, automobiles, cars spin out in the ditch, couple in the center, one against a bridge.
The key thing is to behave yourself. The main reason why I-90 over Snoqualmie Pass shuts down is drivers that spin out.
2 to 4 feet of winter white will blanket the mountains through Thursday.
If you're traveling over Snoqualmie Pass this week, or White Pass, or any of the other mountain passes for that matter, be prepared.
While it's white-knuckle driving for travelers,
this is so great to feel real winter.
It's a winter wonderland for skiers and snowboarders.
Mentally, it's like being in another world. It's part of I feel bad for non-skiers that don't get to come up here when it's gloomy down in town, and it's like almost like being in a different state.
Even with the snowplows out in full force, winter weather like this can affect even the most experienced drivers.
In a hurry, and I put one set of chains on backwards.
I think that it's extremely important for travelers to get there safe than not get there at all.
When it snows in the mountains, there's the risk of avalanches. In the past few weeks, there have been 2 related deaths in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Sven Marigot has more.
Just off Mount Rose Highway, skiers return from a beautiful day in the backcountry.
And I took my AVI course 2 years ago, and but today I'm staying low angle right behind me.
Andrea Slack checked the forecast and skied with her beacon, shovel, and probe.
You cannot, trust anything out there. You have to enjoy it, but you have to beware, at all times.
Tuesday, the avalanche danger was moderate, according to the Sierra Avalanche Center, but Monday it was considerable, with the probability of wind slab avalanches deemed likely. Multiple people were caught in avalanches. One man from Bend, Oregon died in a snowmobile-triggered avalanche near Castle Peak.
It was reported to be about 300 feet wide and about 3 feet deep. Initial kickoff of the avalanche.
Sergeant Dustin Moe with the Nevada County Sheriff's Office says the 5 snowmobilers were experienced in the backcountry and had all the right gear, including beacons. His friends and a Good Samaritan did CPR for an hour, but 42-year-old Chris Scott Thomason didn't make it. It's the second deadly avalanche this season, another tragic reminder of the importance of backcountry safety.
You plan where you're going, figure out where the cliff bands are, where the very steep sections are, where avalanches are likely to occur. Avoid those areas, carry all the recommended gear with you, and carry extra water and food in case you do get stranded.
Well, this week marks 30 years since the blizzard of 1996 crippled much of the Northeast under feet of snow. The storm started as a nor'easter for 2 days. It brought wind and heavy snow from the Carolinas to New England. Snow fell at a rate of 1 to 4 inches per hour. The winds created snow drifts measuring up to 8 feet. At least 60 deaths are blamed on that storm. And according to the National Weather Service, the blizzard of 1993 is the only other storm to have the same extreme impact on the Northwest. And I want you to check out these numbers right here. Big Meadows, Virginia, and the Shenandoah National Park measured 47 inches of snow, among the highest totals from the storm. Then you have Tacoma Park, Maryland, just outside of D.C., recorded 3 feet. Philadelphia set an all-time record with nearly 31 inches. Newark, New Jersey had nearly 28 inches, and Boston recorded 18 inches of snow. Astro meteorologist Karen Wynn takes a look back at the impact in western North Carolina.
On January 6 and 7, 1996, Asheville picked up more than 5 inches of snow both days. But Clay Cheney, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg, says it was the strong wind that caused many of the problems, including the closure of the Asheville Regional Airport.
That just created a really big mess with deep snow drifts. I think I saw somewhere where there ended up being a few spots that had like 10-foot snow drifts.
Cheney says the cold air kept rushing in, and with wind chills between 20 to 30 below zero in some of the higher elevations. The cold air also kept the snow from melting.
Asheville, that, they had received 11.3 inches from it, and they had a snow depth being recorded for over a week. So the cold air that lingered behind it just kept the snow on the ground.
While we are enjoying a warm spell right now, Cheney says it's important to take a look back at winter weather events like the blizzard of 96 and make sure you're ready for any winter weather. He urges people to keep their homes and vehicles properly winterized and have that emergency kit.
Just knowing what to do when your power goes out, or if you end up needing to evacuate, knowing any kind of evacuation routes.
Cheney also advises people to always have a way to get their winter weather warnings and advisories and to keep up to date with the weather forecast.
Today also marks 1 year since the devastating wildfires in Southern California. On January 7, 2025, fires erupted in the Pacific Palisades and Altadena sections of Los Angeles. The flames claimed at least 31 lives and more than 16,000 homes, businesses, and other structures over 80 square miles. Now, 1 year later, most of the debris has been cleared and some rebuilding is actually underway, but many lots are still patches of dirt. More than 70% of displaced residents are still living elsewhere. Hawaii might not be the first place that comes to mind when you think about snow, but on Monday, snow-covered portions of Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano. There was also snow on roads around the dormant Mauna Kea volcano. A winter storm dumped several inches of snow at higher elevations across the area, which is the amount that typically falls here every single year. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how Christmas trees are being used to rebuild dunes along the Florida coast, and we'll share tips to help make sure your home is ready for winter weather.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We're starting our Wednesday with some snow, freezing rain, and rain early in the day. The trend will be for improvement today. Any early morning slippery spots, particularly in northern New England, that will become a little bit better by the afternoon commute. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have to wait until Thursday to get full sunshine in the Northeast. It's the payoff day with highs returning into the 40s. Another round of wet weather should be moving in late on Friday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. A weak front passing through will do very little to affect our weather, except maybe clear out the clouds. We'll actually see a little more sunshine. Delmarva region looking pretty dry and sunny as we head into Thursday, and high pressure takes over before we really see a nice warm-up. Temperatures are going to be milder going into Wednesday, 50s to 60s down south, except to the north, but that milder air will overspread even further north on Thursday.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a look at your southeast forecast. We'll see some cloud cover linger around for parts of the southeast heading through Wednesday morning. And then most of the fog will dissipate into the afternoon hours. We'll see another round of fog for parts of North Florida and across the Gulf Coast too, heading into Thursday morning with a chance for rain arriving to Mississippi River Valley heading into the start of the weekend. Otherwise, mild conditions across the southeast. We're back into the upper 60s, low 70s for the Carolinas, and into the upper 70s and low 80s across South Florida.
I'm Corbin Vogus, Chief Meteorologist at KVII in Amarillo, Texas, and you're watching the National Weather Desk.
Some folks in Florida have found an interesting and helpful way to get rid of their Christmas trees, and it's having a positive impact on local beaches. Haley Samples has more.
Christmas is long gone, but the spirit of giving continues.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Live Christmas trees piling up at Gulf State Park in Alabama, not as trash, but to give them a new purpose.
We place these trees out onto the toe of the dunes, just on the south side of the dunes where the sand begins to get flat, and the trees help to collect sand.
Assistant Superintendent Kelly Reitz says every year the park welcomes tree donations for dune restoration. Any given year, the park collects between 200 and 400 trees. Reitz says volunteers take the trees in groups of 3 and lay them flat in a U shape. Then they'll cover the trees with sand and plant thousands of seeds to promote vegetation.
It's a fantastic way to recycle the Christmas trees. They break down, provide nutrients into the soil, provide those nutrients for the beach plants to be able to grow, and it helps our dunes to grow as well and become stabilized. So whenever we do have storms, this is our protection.
The rebuilding effort is a partnership between the park, volunteers, and the dune doctors.
We have high schoolers that come and participate in a Planting for Protection event where they are going to help place those Christmas trees on the beach.
Owner Frederic Barasset says the planting is a 2-day process. The second day is when elementary schoolers work on the finishing touches. The Gulf State Park beach is just over 2 miles long. Reitz says about half of that is covered in Christmas tree dunes.
That's critical habitat for nesting shorebirds and sea turtles and the Alabama beach mouse. So not only are we protecting ourselves by making the dunes strong and healthy, but we are providing that critical habitat for the animals that they need to be able to survive.
Reitz tells me the dunes are in stable condition. She says there are efforts to maintain the dunes, but the Christmas trees are a bonus.
We are enhancing our beach along our whole stretch of beach, and I think it's a program that we plan on continuing to do.
In Wisconsin, the first full week of January has many people taking to frozen lakes to fish. Eric Peterson looks at the conditions on the ice.
At the landing on the eastern shoreline of Lake Winnebago, Quinney Fishing Club member Adam Ecker says conditions on the ice are improving.
It seems pretty good. Everybody's been saying anywhere from 11 to 14 inches over here. Seems like it's good ice.
Is it early?
It's about the same as last year, but it's early for most years, yeah.
On Monday morning, people took to the frozen surface. Quinney Fishing Club Plow Committee President Mark Ecker says it's been busy on the lake. He says people need to be careful at all times.
Stop and check with your local bait shops or bars, restaurants to make sure you know the conditions before you head out. If you are coming out, unfasten your seatbelt, have your kids in the front seat. If there's bridges, use them.
Ecker says Quinney Fishing Club has 7 steel bridges capable of carrying vehicles over cracks in the ice. He says the club is collecting old Christmas trees to help mark the trail and changing conditions along the way.
Right now we have no bridges out, but if we need to be, we will put them out for the UTVs.
Quinney Fishing Club members recommend using UTVs to travel. Adam Ecker says ice fishing activity is picking up, too. What are people catching out there?
I've been hearing people catching a lot of white bass, perch, and walleye. Everybody gets a little happier when they can get out there earlier. A little more ice fishing, everybody's in a better mood.
Oh, and one place you don't want to snow and ice is on your roof. Ethan Foreman looks at what you can do in the winter months to make sure your home is prepared and protected against severe winter weather.
Tip number 1 is going to be making sure you have adequate insulation in your attic. It's recommended that you have an R38 to an R60. The R for R factor stands for resistance, so it's not going to stop the heat loss going up into your attic, but it will resist it.
Mangrello says that as long as you have good insulation, you should be good for mitigating that heat loss.
Tip number 2 is going to be making sure you have proper ventilation in your attic to get that heat up and out. So the most common forms of ventilation for roofing you're going to see is vented soffit all the way around the perimeter and your ridge vent, which goes along the entire top of your roof.
In order to have good ventilation, Mangrello says you need an intake and exhaust, as it would help suck airflow through, get the heat out, and keep your roof cool.
Tip number 3 outside of that is going to be keeping your roof clear, keeping it raked off, keeping as much snow off the edges of your roof and in the valleys. And if you do those 3 things, it's going to keep your home safe throughout this winter.
Every type of snow is different, but there is certain snow that is going to create more problems than others.
Heavier wet snow, obviously, that's going to put more weight on it. It's going to freeze quicker. This fluffy stuff, a lot of times you get a good gust and it blows a lot of that off. Regardless, though, you leave that on long enough, eventually that wet snow is going to compact it, it's going to warm up, and it's just going to compile.
You can rake the snow off, but Blake Goodell with Loon Roofing and Construction says if you are having trouble getting the ice and snow off with the rake, there's another way to get it off.
If you have ice dam buildup, it's probably a good thing to call somebody with a steamer. We've got a steamer in our company where we can go out and remove ice from your roof, and it basically eliminates it pretty quick and prevents your house from leaking.
And now to the Texas Panhandle, where a young hunter made an extremely rare catch. Abby Molina spoke to the hunter about how he was able to snag a mountain lion in an area that has less than 3 sightings a year.
Easton Good Pasture set up his first trap with his dad Billy, hoping to catch a coyote. But the next day, they found quite a surprise.
We needed to go check our traps that evening, and so we went and checked them when we got done working, and didn't expect that to happen, that's for sure. It was a surprise is what it was. And that was the only thing we caught that night was that big cat, and it was definitely something really cool and special that doesn't happen very often at all.
According to the Texas Parks and Wildlife, mountain lions are rare here in the Texas Panhandle.
We do not have a known breeding population up there. However, Texas Parks and Wildlife gets maybe 2 to 3 confirmed reports of a mountain lion sighting or a harvest or roadkill per year. However, mountain lions can travel really far, so they can show up just about anywhere in Texas as they're dispersing when they're young, looking for their own homes and things like that.
Easton's dad Billy has been setting traps for 5 years, but this is the first time he has trapped a mountain lion.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. It was fun. It was definitely exciting. Not something that happens every day.
Easton says the lion will be on display in his house as a reminder of this special moment.
He's going to get taxidermy and get a full body mount on some rocks, so he'll be a pretty cool talking piece one day when he's in the house.
And as we head to break, we take in views of Maryland's Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Pretty quiet weather across the Midwest for the day today. Some places getting into the mid-60s. A little cooler closer to the Great Lakes. Now, rain moves in tomorrow. We even have maybe a little bit of snow on the northern edge of that rain where it's a little bit colder because colder air will be moving its way in. Behind that, you can see a lot of 30s for high temperatures across the plains by Friday.
Well, good Wednesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Uche. Look at our forecast today across the region. It'll be warm and even a little humid. Look at those highs, 60s and 70s, even some 80s. That area of low pressure, next weather maker with that cool front coming across during the day on Thursday, could kick up a couple of gusty thunderstorms. This is the marginal severe storm outlook that we have, especially as we go Thursday night into early Friday. And temperatures still warm Thursday. They'll cool, though, as we head into the upcoming weekend.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. More typical January weather really starting to set up shop here late in the game over the Pacific Northwest and the Rocky Mountains, and that means the return of the mountain snow from the Cascades on into Steamboat Springs. Meanwhile, LA recovering from all that rain earlier this week. We're continuing to push that disturbance into parts of the desert Southwest, and there you see more rain pushing towards Seattle and Portland. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
We have heard many times that no two snowflakes are the same, but how exactly do they actually get their shape? Meteorologist Joy Bedenhausen explains.
Now, we talked about how a snowflake is made, but temperatures actually determine the snowflake shape. So say the air column is warmer that the snowflake forms in, anywhere from 8 below 0 to 32 degrees. Those ice crystals tend to have more of a needle shape or may have branches. Now, if the air column is colder, anything colder than 8 below 0, these ice crystals tend to be in more of a shape of a plate or column, and you can see that that shape is not as defined. Now, for more specifics, you can look at this graphic above. Essentially, when you go above the surface, temperatures are taken in degrees Celsius. So you can get plates in under negative 22 degrees Celsius. Needles form between negative 8 and negative 10 degrees Celsius. Solid prisms between negative 5 to negative 10. And dendrites, negative 10 to negative 20.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.